it's not about the pursuit of happiness. It's about the happiness of pursuit. Yeah. And really figuring out how to romanticize the small moments. And I've been doing that a lot more consciously. Like, I can't wait to make breakfast. I make an awesome breakfast. Like, I can't wait to drive to work because, I'm learning, my wife's Ukrainian. I have a kid on the way. She'll be half Ukrainian. And so, I've been learning Ukrainian. I can't wait to get in the car and do my next class in Ukrainian. Like, I can't wait to get to work and like dive into, this email or this project or meet with this person. Like, stop focusing on, like you said, when I'm taller, when I'm older, because like I did that when I was younger. It was like, I can't wait to get out of high school. Then everything is going to be great. I can't wait to, if I can just graduate college, everything is going to be awesome. And I just need to get out of the army. If I can just get out of the army. And it's like, you're just, instead of living your life on play, you're skipping chapters.
Yeah.
And how are you going to watch a movie if you're doing the skip chapter button and you're you're seeing screenshots of the movie as you go by, and a 2-hour movie takes you a minute? That sucks. Who's going to pay for that? If I said, hey, Ian, let's go watch this movie, but I'm going to hit skip chapter the whole way, you're going to be like, I'm good, man. You might be mentally unwell. But we do it all the time in our life.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mental Purpose Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Lobos. Look, today is a powerhouse episode. And I know I say that a lot. My buddy said, you call them fire episodes a lot. And I think they are. I wouldn't put it out if they weren't. And I think that the trajectory and the growth that the Mental Purpose organization is in right now, that I'm in as a leader and as a movement creator and a coach and a father and a husband and a man on purpose, I'm getting better, and the episodes are getting better, and the guests are getting higher, and like everything is freaking awesome. All right. My guest today, Randall Crowder, like the conversation went so different than I thought it would. And I mean, this guy, if you read his resume, this guy is decorated. He is runs a company that's on the NASDAQ. I mean, young guy, my age, 40 years old, 41 years old, like incredible stuff, decorated military vet, like incredible guy. And we talk all personal development today. So here are the things that you're going to learn today, so you know that you're not wasting your time. And I promise you, I won't put an episode out that will waste your time. But you just got to know that this is going to serve you. So we're going to talk about measuring success, making time for you, why people go immediately to the negative, and how to turn those society stereotypes that are in your mind and start to change those habits. Fallacies with being productive and being effective. And we're going to talk about the pursuit of happiness and the difference between the happiness of the pursuit or the happiness in the pursuit, being purposeful about what matters in your life, being on purpose, a series of moments, small moments that build self-confidence, internal vulnerability, trusts, communication, talking with your partners, being both feet in your relationships, not just with your marriage, but with your kids, with your business partner, with your employees, and with yourself. That's the big thing. Making sure that you make a commitment to you and honor that shit. Honor it, right? We're going to be talking about, again, vulnerability, stopping comparing yourself to others, controlling your anger, giving your power away to people, talking about, your spouse or your partner in public or to your friends and the way that you do that and checking in with that. We're going to be talking about imposter syndrome and insecurity and owning your shit. And in the mental purpose world, we say every single piece of your life and the results you have are on you. And when you develop that habit, you elevate and evolve yourself to become a more powerful human being. Lots of other stuff, self-actualization, overcorrection, intentions, integrity, being weak, being a leader. What does that mean? All kinds of stuff. You are going to love this episode. That's it. Okay. menonpurpose.net is where you can find everything about Men on Purpose. menonpurpose.net. Our curriculums there, our masterminds are blazing right now. And our lower ticket items, our VMP course, our free stuff. There's tons of free stuff in there. Just go download it. Just go help yourself. Take a step now and say, I can do this. I can honor myself. I can value myself. I can love myself. I can trust myself. I can make one move that'll get me closer to that goal I have or that result I want to be the best person I can be. best father, the best husband, the best leader, whatever it might be. The other thing that Randall and I talk about is the mission beyond the mission. And we talked about it after I stopped recording. We're going to do a part 2. Really, one of the biggest things that our goal and our mission is at MOP is to give back to the community. And I know sometimes that sounds cheesy, and it's not. There are so many people that are in need, that our mission is to provide options and opportunity, both financially and educationally, to those people who don't have them, options and opportunity. And to those people that in their mindset don't think they can get them, or they're physically challenged, or like for animals. So think about that. We're going to be doing some challenges in 2023, and we want you to be a part of those. We're going to raise money for local community stuff, and we want to activate this network to start thinking about how our financial and our educational and even our physical resources can go to our communities and to help our world. Okay. That's where we're going with this. That's where we're going. Okay. Thank you for being here. Go to mentalpurpose.net. Check out everything. Make sure you join our Facebook community if you haven't. We love you. Enjoy this episode. All right, dude. Impressive resume. And I am really curious about how you operate your life. Right? Really curious about how you operate. And take us back to the guy you used to be who has now become the you today. And the hits, the fail points, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do? And,
man, I wish those things, for one, I got to commend you on, the theming and the audience. Very interesting angles for surfacing content, surfacing vulnerability, getting people thinking about things that I think I always use Robin Williams as an example. You think, God, this guy's successful, he's a comedian, he's funny, kills himself. Yeah. What gives? And I think it's just money doesn't buy you happiness, and if mental health is a serious issue, and it's becoming even more so the more we're inundated with technology. I always feel like this is what girls must have felt like, looking at, magazines and now Instagram, where everything is fake, but that's what they have to live up to. Well, as men, we kind of have to do the same thing now. Like you see, like, Elon Musk, just eating the world, Jeff Bezos, like, why aren't I operating at that level? Why can't I do that? How does certain, characteristics, translate? And at the end of the day, some of it's just an impossible task. Your comparison other is such an important construct. Like, who are you comparing yourself to, and how dangerous that can be. But just being vulnerable and sharing, like we talked about, these, where did you fail, and how did you overcome that, and where are you still failing, and where do you need to overcome? I think so many people, they keep that in, and they don't want to admit, where they're weak, and they, who do they talk to? And they don't want to tell their family because they don't want their family to worry. They don't want to tell their peers because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to tell their employees because they don't want them to freak out and go find a new job. Right. And you find yourself, if you're a type A leader of men and women, it's a lonely road sometimes, and it's a lot of fake it till you make it. And the question is, how do you even quantify making it? Some people can make $100 million and they still haven't made it because they haven't figured out what true wealth is. Some people, have a bunch of kids and they have family, and then they just go on boys trips and try to escape them all day long, and that's not making it. So how do you find that balance is going to be tough. So anyways, I just wanted to commend you for having really interesting angle for what you're doing.
Dude, that is one, I greatly appreciate that, because sometimes I think about it and I go, this is so easy that it can't be deep. It can't be beneficial. It can't be powerful. And then that's like my insecure mind.
Yeah.
And the stuff that you're talking about, I was talking to somebody on a podcast yesterday where we were talking about the achievement or the goals. And so much of our culture is built on when I have, at this time, when that part of my life is over, when I'm bigger, smaller, taller, faster, stronger, more money, whatever it might be, I will. And then my question is, well, what about now, dude? I just got off the phone with somebody right before I got on with you, and we were talking about, me living in Southern California. And one of the like 6 things that people say is, taxes. Oh, what about the traffic? What about the smog? It's expensive. And I forget, and gas prices. That's like 5 right there. Pop, pop, pop. And I read this really interesting book called Die with Zero. And it changed my perspective on the hoarder generational wealth mentality, which you can still provide wealth for your children. But what about the hours you're working and the hours you're not spending enjoying your life now? And I'm not saying you got to spend money to enjoy. I'm saying money provides an option or an opportunity to have a little bit more freedom to go and enjoy. And so like that mindset, I actually want to start there with you. You're a busy guy. You got a lot of stuff going on. Like your companies are publicly traded. That's not small.
Yeah.
How are you, 1, measuring success, and 2, how are you making time for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I do want to say, before I jump into that, sometimes you got to reframe your own narrative. We always talk about reframing narrative in life, but think about what you just said. You moved to California, and what are people first thing they tell you?
Yeah.
Oh, why'd you do that? Oh, taxes. Why does it bother you? Why are you trying to we know that media sells negativity because it gets 6 times the engagement.
Right.
And that media is money. So you push negative stories because of that. But the secondary and tertiary consequences of that is that's our new normal.
Yeah.
Why not be like, oh man, you surf? How's the weather?
Right.
How the girls? Oh wait, why do we always go to? Because I do it. It's like, man, you're willing to pay those taxes? Like immediately out of the gate, I want to tear you down. I want to somehow, some way make myself feel better about the decisions I make by questioning your decisions. It makes no sense. Why do we always default to negativity? And so that's one thing I've worked on to get now to your question. How do you measure success? One of my guiding quotes, and it's been attributed to different people. I got to probably eventually, I keep saying it. So eventually I got to figure out who the heck actually said this, but it's not about the pursuit of happiness. It's about the happiness of pursuit. And really figuring out how to romanticize the small moments. And I've been doing that a lot more consciously. I can't wait to make breakfast. I make an awesome breakfast. I can't wait to drive to work because, I'm learning, my wife's Ukrainian. I have a kid on the way. She'll be half Ukrainian. And so, I've been learning Ukrainian. I can't wait to get in the car and do my next class in Ukrainian. I can't wait to get to work and dive into, this email or this project or meet with this person. Stop focusing on, like you said, when I'm taller, when I'm older, because I did that when I was younger. It was I can't wait to get out of high school. Then everything is going to be great. I can't wait to, if I can just graduate college, everything is going to be awesome. And I just need to get out of the army. If I can just get out of the army. And it's you're just, instead of living your life on play, you're skipping chapters.
Yeah.
And how are you going to watch a movie if you're doing the skip chapter button and you're you're seeing screenshots of the movie as you go by, and a 2-hour movie takes you a minute? That sucks. Who's going to pay for that? If I said, hey, Ian, let's go watch this movie, but I'm going to hit skip chapter the whole way, you're going to be like, I'm good, man. You might be mentally unwell. But we do it all the time in our life. And it's always I can't wait for that vacation next summer. Dude, it's almost December. Stop focusing on the summer. How about today, Christmas, New Year's? Let's keep it tight. So I've been living consciously a lot more, trying to be present, and it's really helped in a lot of ways. But it's muscle memory. So me and my wife, we got rid of a car. We drive to work every day. I either drop her off or she drops me off. More time we get to spend together. Enjoy walking the dog, taking these small moments, because here's the biggest fallacy I've learned. And then I'll get into kind of my background. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're productive. And just because you're productive doesn't mean you're effective. And so people always think, well, a lot of motion, a lot of activity, that must be valuable. And I can pat myself on the back. Whew, come home. I worked a 14-hour day. Dude, unless you're an ER surgeon or, you know, a construction worker, if you're in software or content creation and you work a 14-hour day, I'm sorry, I don't think you work well. Yeah. And a lot of people, you got to do that every once in a while. You got to pull those all-nighters every once in a while. I'm not taking anything away from that. But a lot of people will immerse themselves in the act of doing things in order to pat themselves on the back. Like, you know, it's like when you work out and you're done, you're sweaty and you're like, oh, that must have been a really good workout. Yeah, maybe. Or you might have just sweat a lot. I don't know. Like, you know, did you work out well? And so I think you really got to, you know, audit. How are you using your time? Are you using it well? How many distractions do you have throughout the day? When I work, I work. I don't, you know, get on Yahoo and get on Instagram and then do a little bit of work. Like, I go full on immersive work. Like 2 hours of my time is not 2 hours of the average person's time. And then I do that by design because I have to work out every day. So I have to make time being effective during my day so that I have time to hang out with my wife, to drive her to work, to walk my dog, to, you know, go to the gym, because those things make me better and I can't skip them just to work more.
What's up, guys? I'm so sorry to interrupt the episode. I just need 1 minute to share with you all the new and exciting, amazing stuff we've got created here at Men on Purpose. First of all, thank you for listening to the podcast and supporting the movement we're creating for all the men in the world. Next, you've got to check out our new website, menonpurpose.net, where you'll find all kinds of cool stuff, including links to our podcast and the free Men on Purpose community. You're also going to find our new free purpose-driven formula mini course and ebook, and links to all of our new coaching programs and products. Look, I've had so many of you ask me where to get started with your personal growth journey or where you can go to level up. So I put this thing together, this free ebook and mini course, and we're going to be talking about and coaching you through a really light version of our purpose-driven formula, which is our foundational formula. And for those of you who are ready now, we got you. Listen up, whether it's becoming the best husband, being the best dad, quitting that job that doesn't serve you, or just understanding how to put you first, we've got what you need to align with your authentic self and find that true fulfillment and live a life with no regrets. Look, we're helping men with structure, support, and sustainability. That's what you've asked for, and that's what we deliver. As we lead you through proven and tested curriculum that focuses on formulas to help you get farther faster. So make sure you go to menonpurpose.net, click the button to download our free, powerful, purpose-driven formula mini course and ebook. And while you're there, make sure you check out some of our amazing products designed to help you find your purpose, stop self-sabotage, and dial in your mindset, skills, and habits to evolve into the best version of you. Why? Because we want you to live and have the best life possible. No regrets. So, mentalpurpose.net, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, dude, I totally get that. I mean, think about the culture we live in when you're talking about skipping scenes. We watch Instagram and all that is scene skip, scene skip, scene skip. You know, you don't see the, wait, by the way, real quick, I want to make sure that I catch this. Busy isn't productive. Productive isn't effective.
Yeah, just because you're busy doesn't mean you're productive. And just because you're productive doesn't mean you're effective.
Yeah, I was taught a long time ago by a coach, movement doesn't equal achievement.
Absolutely.
You know, and I love the way you put it because it's true.
Yeah.
I used to work 12 to 14 hours a day because I felt like if I don't, then I won't catch up or get ahead of the competition. And if I don't get ahead of the competition, I'll be lost in the crowd. And if I'm lost in the crowd, I'm nobody. And if I'm nobody, I'm not loved. And if I'm not loved, I'm dead. And then we run this little cycle of, oh, let's avoid death. Okay, well, that means I work more.
Yep. 100%.
And the problem isn't the working more, given that, you know, you're literally just putting your time and your value on work. It's the accessory pieces that you need to be involved in that you're not actually putting the time into. So guys wonder why their relationships are shit, or that they're overweight and out of shape, or that their communication sucks, or that they got an alcohol problem, or whatever it might be for them. It's because there's this mentality of someday and skip that put that formula together, and it is a recipe for disaster. And really the disaster is not necessarily the life right now. It's the probable and possibly inevitable situation that's going to happen, which is you are going to go through life in mediocrity with a big fat bank account.
Yep.
Your relationship isn't the best it can be. Your fatherhood isn't the best it can be, and you will face regrets that have pain associated with them that you don't even fucking know is possible yet.
100%.
You'll have to deal with that shit and never be able to get that back. And
100%.
that's what, like, my job, my mission, my purpose is to help men understand who they are and why they're here, so they can start making pivots and evolutions now, so they don't face that in the future and go, oh my God, I wasted my marriage. I wasted my kid's childhood. I wasted my youth. And now I'm 52 years old and I can't work out the same as I used to when I was 25. And my wife just wants to leave, or the inevitable might be that your relationship is just stale as shit and it sucks. And that's not how you committed. Like, that wasn't the commitment. That wasn't what you said you wanted for each other.
No, that's 100% right.
That is an epidemic, if you think about it. It really is.
It's crazy that it's become, it's almost like, and it goes back to that kind of comment I made about, people tearing people down. When you see a couple who is healthy, and look, everybody has fights. We're not talking about that. Toxic is not, arguing. Toxic is not disagreeing. Toxic is abuse. It's cheating. It's very serious things. And so, but like when people, see healthy couples and they're happy, you're almost always like, oh, it's fake. Like it's so rare. Like me and my wife, we've been together for 8 years, no cheating, no bullshit. We've never gone on a vacation separately. We don't want to. I have more fun hanging out with her than I do hanging out with the boys. I don't need to go out with the boys. Like, I'm good. I'll go out. She's going to come with me, and she can hang with the boys. Yeah. And so, but it's like, if you're purposeful about the things that matter, you will focus on what matters. And if you're trying to constantly, if you misalign your achievement with what matters, you'll be focused on all the wrong things. Like, and you'll be using that to kind of fill this void that, is not, you can't fill it. You're not even shoveling dirt into the right hole. And so, you're like, oh, look, I'm just making more money. It's like, yeah, great. But you don't have a relationship with your kids. Your wife, despises you and might be cheating on you because you're never home. Right. People don't cheat on people in very healthy relationships. You're not giving them something. And the telltale signs of that happen years before it actually ends up getting that bad. And you just chose to ignore it. And I think, skipping scenes, it's always like, well, 2 more years and then I'll be partner. And then I'm going to focus on the family. 2 years is a lifetime in a kid's development, in how a wife perceives you. And it's like gaining, 300 pounds and then losing it. You're not going to have the same body before you gained it. You're going to have stretch marks. It's going to be loose skin. Your body will have forever changed. And now you're going to have to deal with the remnants of that, that weight gain. And so, you can't always hit that redo button. It doesn't mean you can't change. It doesn't mean you can't get better, but you got to understand the consequences of living poorly or living misaligned, because even when you fix it, you will have done damage that sometimes isn't repairable.
Yeah. I mean, aren't we just talking about self-love at its basic concept?
Yeah.
And how most men are associating the love for themselves based on the production level that they can hit or that they can achieve at some point in their lives. I mean, that's really it. So that I actually want to ask you that question. When was the time that you remember where you did not have that type of love for yourself? And then for the guys that are listening, they want to know, how the hell did you get it? How'd you tap in? How'd you dial in?
Man, it's a great question. I would say, I mean, you never, as humans, it's kind of the human condition. Like, I heard somebody say a long time ago, and I liked it, we're not human beings, we're human becomings. And you're in a constant state of becoming. You're not just existing, static. And so I don't know that I'll ever reach what I would say is a goal for self-love. It's always a, improvement process. But growing up, I mean, there was, so I'll kind of explain it this way. Like, I love running. A lot of people can't tell by looking at me, but I'm an avid runner. And there's something about running that is existential, because only I would know if I do it. Only I will know how hard I work at it. I could turn around at any point and no one would know. I could skip days and no one would know. It's a very self-actualizing activity, where you wake up and it's cold or it's raining and you have this moment. I don't care how much you've run or how good you were at running. There's always that moment where you're like, man, I don't want to do this shit, especially if you don't get paid for it. If you don't get paid for it and you're not training for a marathon, I mean, there's almost every day I go, oh, come on. Okay, come on, let's go. And I got to talk myself into it. But it's that process of doing it and then gutting it out and then feeling great afterwards and being like, yeah, all right, I did that. And like, I love kind of that overcoming my natural tendencies to mentally want to self-select out. And I've done that, you know, and that was probably my biggest barrier to self-love was, you know, almost an imposter syndrome, I guess. So whenever I was in high school, you know, I was already accepted to UT. I had no, you know, my dad was in the Navy back in Vietnam. My grandfather was in the Navy in Nam in the Korea War, but I didn't grow up in a military household. So it wasn't a part of my life at all. I wasn't some gung-ho patriot. I was partying my ass off in high school. I was having a great time. So I was gonna have an even better time at UT. And one of my friends had, you know, his father, you know, did go to West Point and he was always going to go. And he was like, you should go with me. And I was like, you gotta be in the military, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, no, thank you. I was like, that does not sound like a good idea. But he ended up convincing me of it. And, you know, at the time, this was the late 90s, Rumsfeld was downsized in the Army. People were getting paid like $100 grand just to get out of the Army. And so I was like, well, okay, I wasn't wealthy. You know, my parents didn't have a lot of money. I was like, this would be a way for me to pay for my own college. And then they wouldn't have to, you know, help me out, which is what they wanted to. And so in my mind, though, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get in. So I'll apply because I've always been one of those people, like there's never been a challenge that I'll self-select out of. If I like internalize the challenge itself. Like if somebody says like, you know, if I go like, all right, you know, I'm going to apply just because I found out about it. If I didn't apply, it would be like I was self-selecting out. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get in. So this is an easy one. I'll apply. I won't get in. And then I can tell myself for the rest of my life, at least I tried. Well, shit, I got in. And then I was like, man. So another, you know, kind of crisis moment. I'm like, I didn't really think this was going to go this far. Now I'm in. Do I go? And I didn't have self-love. I was like, I wasn't confident in myself. I wasn't confident in my decision-making. I was like, this is a mistake. Like, what am I doing? But I was like, well, you know, it's a good opportunity. It's something different. You know, I don't want to admit that I'm scared, so I'll go. That was literally my thought process. I was like, well, shit, I don't want to tell anybody that, like, you know, I was too much of a pussy to go, so I'm gonna go. So I go, and I'm like, well, you know, no big deal. This is, you know, we'll be done with this in 4 years, and we'll probably get paid to get out. People were getting like $100 grand to get out. Except, you know, my senior year was 9/11. And I still remember walking into my first class after the towers fell, and I had this like cartoonish colonel for a teacher, like steel jaw. And I think he jumped in a Grenada or something. And we sit down, he's kind of looking at all of us, and he's like, well, cadets, you're all going to war. I was like, oh shit. Oh boy. Like that got real fast. And you know, it was just these series of moments that I think began building confidence in myself, because I didn't know what I was getting into, but I at least put myself in play, and then got smacked in the face by putting myself in play, and then learned that, you know, all right, I'm not breakable. You know, I'm not going to quit. I am capable. I can do these things. And so, you know, it's like muscle building. You know, you tear down the muscle, you create those, you know, and you realize that by doing so, it'll make you stronger. But if you don't put yourself in the game, you're never gonna achieve the things. And I say achieve in terms of success and failure. You're never going to achieve the recognition of success or failure that will help teach you what you're good at, what you need to improve on, how you overcome, what do you think. And I've always done that from, you know, West Point, Airborne School, Ranger School, combat deployments. It was always, how are you going to know unless you put yourself out there? And the more you do, and the more you achieve, and the more you lead, and the more you put yourself in situations where you can gain confidence, the more love you'll have for yourself, because you'll be like, I did that, or I helped that person, or I did that thing. So like now, fast forward to today, I don't miss out on an opportunity. Like I kind of, I'm not terribly religious. I, went to a Catholic private school as a child, and I think that was enough to make me spiritual, but not religious.
Yeah.
And, but there's something really cool going on, and I don't know what it is. Maybe we've been seeded by aliens. Maybe, there's a guy in a big white robe up there who's going to say what's up to me one day. Maybe it's just really cool science at work and there's all this great energy and, all these things going on, but something feels special. And so when I feel something like an urge to do a thing or to help a person or to make that call, I follow through with it every time. I feel like that's like the universe telling me that's where you need to go. And the scarier, the better. I think it was Will Smith that said, God put the best things in your life on the other side of terror. And I've always believed that, like if it's scary, that's probably what you should be doing.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you on that. Do you think that applies to like relationships, and it applies to everything? You got to face that terror, that thing, like even something that sounds simple like communication or sharing vulnerability with your partner. Does that
I think
correlate?
100%. I think it's so astute that you said that, because I think I read a study a while back that basically, there's a healthy medium, or there's you can go too far, but couples that don't fight will always fail. Because guys will talk about that all the time. I was in a relationship like that where we never fought, and we stayed out of each other's way, and it was basically like we were roommates. And the study kind of found that like that doesn't mean you're in a healthy relationship. It means you don't give a shit. It means you don't care. You just don't, you fight for what you care about. You get scared when it matters. Like when it feels like, I don't want to lose this person, or I'm nervous to admit that I made a mistake or I did something. That emotional trigger is telling you it's important to you. And, you don't want that person to think less of you, or you don't want that person to be disappointed in you. That's when you do it, because that person is so important to you, and you have to have that trust. And if you don't trust them with your own vulnerabilities, they're never going to trust you with yours. And that's even more important. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's not a misogynistic statement. We're big dumb animals, right? And so we always think we know what's going on, or we think we're getting by or getting over. Women always know. They always know what's going on. They know when something's up. They know when you're acting funny, and they won't say anything. They'll I always say men are like dogs. We're just out here, ears flapping, just looking for someone to scratch our belly. Women are like cats. Like they're always watching you. They always know what's up, and they're a little cool. They play it cool. So you need to be the first one a lot of times. And look, we're in a modern era, so I know these roles can switch, and it might be different, but someone usually is the dog and someone's the cat. Someone's more dominant and someone, is a little bit more reserved in a lot of relationships, whether it's the man or the woman, doesn't matter. But one of you has to, present your own vulnerability. And I guarantee you the other one will be a mirror of it. The other one will be like, oh man, I'm glad you said something. Here's something from me. And maybe not in that moment, but soon you'll create this dynamic where each of you feels comfortable sharing your worries. And I'll tell you, I don't have a single secret from my wife, and I don't mean that by like, I'm a super altruistic guy. Like some of the things I would rather she not know, she kind of found out on her own. And like, I'm like, oh, God, I thought I hid that better. But like, we're at a point now where we literally, there's not a single skeleton in our closet. Man, I couldn't pay for that kind of just transcendence. Like it just feels so good. Like I don't have to worry about like running into somebody or running into a friend and be like, oh shit, I dated that girl. Or like I don't have to worry about like her, if she wants to look at my phone, here you go, take it. Her fingerprints are on my phone. You can look at it whenever you want. Like that kind of just not having that weight on your shoulder and that effortless, living with somebody else and just having everything on the table. It's discomforting sometimes, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, isn't it discomforting because there's a lot of trust that person could, if they wanted to, they could fuck you over potentially.
Absolutely.
They got enough on you where they could spin some things fast. And that's
that's the thing though. Like, what do we, I said this to a good friend of mine recently. He thought he was kind of getting over on this girl who was absolutely with him. He was kind of looking, maybe the grass is a little greener, but he was like, trying to, kind of 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. And he kept talking about her like it was her problem. It's a version of gaslighting. He's like, she's not putting herself out there for me. She's not fun, or she's not doing this, or she's not doing that. I'm like, she's capable. She's just not doing it because she knows you're not 100% in. I wasn't 100% in. I mean, I think I was mentally, but I didn't show my wife I was 100% in the first kind of phase of our relationship. And she knew it. And so she's like, well, I'm not going to give you all of me. If you're not giving me all of you, if I'm just an option, why would I give you my best self? And so I had to be kind of all in and be like, you know what? That's it. Move to Austin, move in with me. It's you. And then the relationship changed. And it was like, okay, you've kind of validated that, I'm your person. And then I'll give you my full self. And I think that's important for people to understand, that you have to be able to take that step to be discomforting and be open and honest. And then I think someone else will now see that as an opportunity to give them their best self, or give you their best self.
Dude, do you remember the Chris Rock bit, men are only as faithful as their options?
Yeah.
It's from his, you and I are
when you right here, Chris Rock bit, I always think like, I'll shake the shit out of it. I love that one. You're right. It is 100% options.
I remember
friends they haven't had sex with yet.
Right. Like you and I are pretty much the same age. And wait, you were at West Point at 9/11?
Yeah, my senior year.
Oh, you're senior, because you may be a little older than me. I was a sophomore in college, and I remember that day crazy, not going down that road, but like I remember watching that bit. I think it was the Bigger Blacker album. Yeah. And I think he was like in a leather suit and he was pacing back and forth. And he's got those long fingers. He's like, men are only as faithful as their options. And I thought, wow, that's an interesting concept, because I'm young at that time. And then thinking about it, like that's real, because what you're talking about, and I want the audience to really key in on this. How many of you, audience, right now are both feet in on your marriage, your relationship, your partnership with your partner in business, your children? Like, and by the way, only as faithful as your options doesn't mean cheating on your wife. Oh. It also means you're only as faithful as your options with your children. Like if you got a circle, an environment, an inner circle group of guys that plays golf and goes gambling and does all this shit every other night, you have options that you have allowed yourself to have, and now you're able to make choices, which you're now putting yourself in the wrong environment, the wrong headspace, the wrong inner circle. And I say wrong, like it's not serving of the goals that you have. And I'm guaranteeing that 50% of the guys listening to this right now, they are 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and giving themselves options that do not serve the results that they want for their relationship or their lives. Yep. Just think about that shit. You say, I want this. You go for this with a little bit over here. My dad's here. My parents are hanging out at my house in California. Oh, my dad would always say, he'd always do this to me. If you guys are watching on Instagram, this, all chips in on you, dude. Never, ever, ever. I don't care if you got 2 chips or 1,000 chips. If it comes down to you got to bet on something, you bet everything on you. Don't leave 1 chip for the dealer. Don't leave 1 for the drink lady. Don't leave 1 just in case. If you go all in, at least you'll know that you went all in and you gave it everything that you had. Yep. You leave that 1 little drink ticket out. You leave that 1 little tip for the waitress. You know that you didn't bet on you and you didn't trust you fully, which is another problem that men have. I want to go into that for a second. I want to go back to one thing, which was you said something about, geez, man, something like you were saying something, and I was like, does that mean self-sabotage? And I wanted to ask you, and I didn't, and I totally forgot about it.
I'll give you an example. Maybe this will spur it. So yeah. I did, and when I used to self-sabotage in a way that is very innocuous, and I'll tell you something that I think everybody can relate to, or at least most people can if they're being honest. I think we all think of, man, I'm some hard charging, chest pounding, Andrew Tate badass, and like, most of that's a front for one. Most of it's a shtick, but I used to disarm people by disclaiming myself. And it's a very unhealthy tactic. It's a version of negative self-talk. And so I got my MBA, and after the Army, came back to Austin, got my MBA at McCombs. And then after McCombs, I did a Kaufman Fellowship. So it's 2 years in Silicon Valley. And the CEO at the time, who was kind of in charge of recruiting people, probably thousands of people apply. There was like 20 of us that got in. And so, you do these real immersive, the whole point of the program was to find the next generation of, great venture capitalists and entrepreneurs. And it's incredible the people who've been through this program. And so like, I'm sitting in this room and I'm hearing about people that were previous Kaufman fellows, and in my room, there's been Olympic athletes and Nobel Prize runner-ups, and there was like the number 4 at Oracle was in a class behind me, just remarkable people. And I'm sitting there going like, man, I do not belong here.
Yeah.
And I was real uncomfortable, and it's kind of like, maybe they just didn't realize who I was, because at this point I had an MBA, and I had served a couple tours of combat, but what do I have to offer, right? And so the first class, everybody's kind of introducing themselves and talking, and they get to me, and everybody's giving their background, and they get to me, and I'm nervous here, but I'm going to play it off, right? So I go, well, hey, I'm Randall Crowder. I'm this guy named Phil Wickham. I'm Phil Wickham's charity case for this class. And then I went to continue my little bit, and he goes, stop. Don't ever fucking do that again.
Yeah.
I was like, and he's a really kind of nice, jovial guy. I was like, whoa. Like, what? He's like, the amount of people that went into basically evaluating you to get here, interviewing you to get here, and deciding that you had something to give and value to add, that's insulting to them.
Yeah.
It's insulting to your parents. It's insulting to me. You deserve to be here because you are here. Don't ever disclaim yourself, whether it's to disarm people, whether it's because you're nervous. You have to be authentic. And negative self-talk is rarely, if ever, authentic.
Yeah.
So don't put that into the universe. And it was like, whoa, shit. Like, okay. And I've never done it since. After, Kaufman Fellows, I spent a decade as a venture capitalist, an angel investor and a venture capitalist. I was the youngest guy in every room. I was the only guy that looked like an MMA fighter. I didn't belong in any room I've ever been in, really. But I never did that again. And, I owned every room I was in, and it was just a wake-up call. It was like, you have to put yourself, in play, and I, don't self-sabotage. People don't want to meet people that immediately are like, hey, I'm not that smart, but like, hey, nice to meet you. It's like, whoa, shit, like you're wasting my time. Like,
right.
You want to meet people who tell me about yourself. Like, I get it. You're probably not, a math whiz, an NFL athlete, and a great singer. There's limitations to us all, but give me your best self.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's what we're talking about though. Where I said in the beginning, like one of our biggest goals and missions in the MOP world is to help men find who they are and why they're here, that authentic version. And within our training, we have the difference between the natural self and the authentic self. The natural self is the programmed self from the outside, society, military, mom and dad, school, bullshit, corporate, whatever. And the authentic self is the guy that's like, man, why did I just say that? That was so dumb. That was so stupid. Why am I doing this? Why do I keep going out with these guys after work? Why do I do this? And that transition from the natural self, the programmed self, to the self-programmed self, the authentic, is actually a very quick transition if you think about it. It takes a long time to develop those habits and to like sit it or like seed it in or whatever you call it. for the concrete to harden.
Yeah.
Yet it's really just one choice away, like you're talking about. And I want to point that out. In that moment when the guy was like, don't ever fucking do that again, like you're insulting every single person that ever looked at the value that you bring.
Yeah.
And you just discredited everybody. Like I love the way you put that, because that is the majority, especially high level men out there who discount or disclaim their marriage and their partner, or discount or disclaim their weight or their job or their position. And like, you know, I got promoted, but I'm a charity case for the boss. We play golf together, you know.
Yeah.
And inside the guy's like, fuck yeah, I earned this. And the natural self is like, you don't deserve it. You're a loser, just like you were told in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And that programming, right? I got taught this in Landmark. That past programming hits that present moment, gives you a decision, a choice, and you go, come with me. And you create this present and this future for yourself that perpetuates, and it becomes a habit. And then you're 45. And most of the guys that come to me have hit a wall, right? A death, a divorce, something major happened, a health scare. And they woke up and they're like, oh my God, I cannot believe I've been doing that. Yeah. What do I do now? And the answer is, you remove the parts of you that aren't the authentic you. The authentic you will be standing there, and you operate your life from that point. Can you do that? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's scary.
What helped me get there, and it's, I don't know when it kind of, I've done a lot of like crazy things that like people would kind of, I've been in some crazy situations that are, you know, somebody on Instagram would think like real, like, you know, real manly shit, right? Like, I don't really care about that. I like testing myself. You know, I've been in a lot of fights. I've been shot at. I've shot at in anger. I've pulled my gun in a uniform and as a civilian. You know, I've tested myself in a lot of situations, so I kind of know how I'll respond. I don't really think of that as very macho, quite frankly. But it has whetted, I call it like, so it's a stupid question. So when I used to get a lot of fights. It was just, and it usually was never my fault, but like, you know, I was decent at fighting, and if it came to me, fine. But like, one of the things that would set me off, you know, either, you know, physically imposing, you know, anything physically with a woman. I'm born in Texas. I'm an old school kind of, you know, chivalrous person. So, you know, even if I don't know you, if I see that, that's a trigger. There's a trigger for bullying. I can't stand bullies. And so I love, you know, in high school, I love bullying bullies. Like, that was always I got a kick out of that, watching someone who's traditionally not afraid be afraid. But I think, you know, for me, that is like the ultimate like power move, is to stop comparing yourself to other people and stop giving a shit what they think. Like, and that has led me in a weird way to like radical transparency and honesty, which just is easier. I don't have to think about this. I don't lie to anybody. I don't have to think about what stories I told. I don't, you know, I tell you, you know, this is me, take it or leave it, you know, and it creates a very honest exchange with somebody else. But if you are either, you know, what I used to do, disclaiming yourself, if you're lying to make yourself feel better, if you're, you know, hiding, you know, the fact that you're in a relationship, you know, a lot of people do that on social media. I always think that's weird. It's like, I know you're together, but you don't post any pictures. Why?
Right.
You know, we think we all know why, but like, that's like a, you know, pardon my French, but like, that's a bitch move. Like, totally. You're afraid to show off your girl. You're afraid to be honest with people. You're afraid to give people your true self. You're a beta. You're not an alpha. I don't care how much. If you were an alpha, you just give it to me raw, like straight, no chaser. You wouldn't be such a scared little person trying to impress me, or post pictures of your private jet that you rented and it was somebody else's, you know, somebody else paid for it. Like, you know, you're insecure. And that's weakness. Like, if I see that, I'm like, I got you. Like, if it came down to it, I'd eat you alive. And so it's like, you know, when you're constantly putting on this air that is false and it's born out of insecurity, you know, I don't want to be weak. I don't. In my heart of hearts, I don't. And so I began cultivating that. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, because if I lie to you, that's giving you power. That's giving you control over how I see myself. If I'm nervous to show off my wife, or if like, a girl like walks up like, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm like, married. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have any shot whatsoever. Like, it's like, I'm not gonna toe the line, or like, be flirtatious and like pretend like I'm single. Like, no, because then that's giving my power over to her. It's like, I don't like giving other people my power. So if you're about to lie to somebody, if you're about to gaslight somebody, if you're about to, do something that is not genuine for you, you are likely weak and you are scared of that other person. So you got to first kind of course correct that. You got to start realizing that if you really truly want to be a type A personality, you want to be a leader, you got to be authentic, and you got to stop giving your power over to other people through your bullshit.
Yeah, dude, there's a couple questions in that. One, what I was thinking about earlier, Matthew McConaughey in his speech at, I think, University of Houston, one of his like 14 rules I love was, and that I love and follow, is clean up your crumbs.
Yeah.
Don't leave crumbs. Right? Like you're saying with your phone, you can look at my phone all day long. I got nothing to hide. Zero. Yeah. I'm not DMing people. I don't have private messages. I don't have hidden pictures. And by the way, when you have that dynamic, and it could be unspoken, like when you actually clear that space in your relationship, the level of what opens up, you don't even know about right now. You don't even know what's possible until you clear that shit out, right? All part of our process is illuminate, eliminate, calibrate. That's the formula for the purpose-driven life. And so you start to clear that shit out, clear all those crumbs up. And what opens is a level of trust that you may never have had in your life. Maybe you're really scared because when you open up like that, you could be really hurt.
Yeah.
And you got to put yourself out there.
Like, I think it's like, so this is less popular, but like, and my wife, gives me a hard time for this, but I'm going to keep saying it because, again, it's my authentic self. Like, I love her. Like, she's my person, and I don't cheat on her because I don't need to, and I don't have the desire to. But that's like the hallmark answer that happens to be true. But it's not the full story. And it kind of goes back to what I was just saying about handing over your power. I was like, because, at least in my relationship, sometimes like I'm a little bit more aggressive and outgoing. I'm a typical, August baby. I'm a Leo. I'm an ENTJ, if anybody knows Myers-Briggs. My wife is sweeter and she's nicer. And, she'll occasionally have that thought, like, that insecure thought, and that's totally fine. That's warranted. We all have them every once in a while. It's what we do with them that matters. But I tell her, I'm like, there's a part of me that also would never cheat because of that. Like, my, confidence in like knowing that I've got no skeletons. Cause like, even if like she'll never find out, like you guys will go on a bachelor party or something and they'll be like, man, no one's ever gonna know, but you'll know.
Yeah.
And like when she starts coming down on you about something, you'll always know in the back of your mind, like, you wronged her, like on a cosmic level.
Yeah.
For me, man, I walk 10 feet tall, because like when she's mad, or like she might accuse me of something in a fit of rage, I'm like, what do you got? You got nothing. You got nothing, because I've never fucked up ever. Right. And it is like, I mean, it's like the best drug on the planet to know that I've never wronged her, and to know that I kind of have that over her. Like, no matter what happens, like I don't have to live with guilt. I don't have to live with any skeletons. And just being in a relationship for 8 years where I've never, fucked up, man, it's the best drug on the planet. And like, I would never give that up in a moment of drunken, like, oh, I'm gonna have a one night stand. It's like, no way. No way. I would never.
Isn't that just a scarcity mindset? Like it's in front of me. I don't have to work for it. I'll just take it now. Here's the thing though, like when that fight comes up, even if it's so secretive, nobody knew, it was in the middle of the Montana wilderness and there's no camera, there's no proof, you can't get anything on me. It's that self integrity piece that says, I just broke a commitment to me.
Yeah.
Forget about the commitment I made here.
Fix it. You can't buy her enough stuff.
No.
You can't, be nice to her and cook her dinner. Once you do that, it's an entirely different trajectory for y'all's relationship. You could grow old together. I'm not saying you can't, but there is something, the closest thing I could imagine is, and by no means, we've already covered, my opinion on religion. I was by no means a virgin when I got married. But I feel like that must be what they feel, people who are like, this is that sacred thing that I'm going to hold on to. I didn't have that as a sacred thing to hold on to, but this kind of commitment to her, and I'm not gonna ever make you look stupid. I'm not, because cheating's a big one, right? Like that's one you can, try to not do, but it's also, how do you talk about her to other people? Do you make her look stupid? Do you kind of joke with your boys about, this or that? Do you tear her down to get along with the crowd? That's also kind of a very insidious thing to do. You should put your partner, I don't care if it's a man, a woman, non-binary, whatever it is, whoever you love, put them on a pedestal, and you should protect their heart with your own. Yeah. And you should know at a fundamental level, you are not here to hurt that person in any way. And that's awesome. Like, it's not cool to talk shit with the boys and go, hook up with random strippers. It's cool to love your partner. It's cool to put them on a pedestal. Yes. Cool to raise a family with them. It's cool to be present in your kids' lives. Yeah. That's cool.
Dude, what's really interesting is we're talking about, like, when we talk about self-trust, we talk about the disclaiming yourself. We're really talking about setting commitments to yourself and breaking them and having no integrity to your own self. And that's where distraction and the bullshit comes in, right? And at the same time, if you got those skeletons and you're in battle with your spouse, if you're just having one of those nights where you're like, we're going to dish this out, you're fighting with a very different weapon. Oh, yeah. And if you had nothing to hide, you're fighting with a much bigger sword, which hurts way more when you go to stab and swipe. Yeah. And then this person that doesn't know where you're actually coming from is like, fuck, you're out of control, dude. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you're like, hey, listen, everything's cool. Meanwhile, bachelor party in Montana is, coming back up in your head. And you feel like shit because it's not, the cheating was the result of your break of integrity. The cheating isn't the fucking factor. It's the result of you breaking something, failing at something, and not committing to something. That's really all that was.
Well, and that's an important thing too. And I know we were talking about kind of that disconnect between career and home life. In addition to not, self-selecting out of situations that can make you stronger, in addition to not disclaiming yourself and, making yourself, less deserving of the positions, you see yourself in, I think people, I'll say this like in a polite way, like there's just I guess it's kind of like the imposter syndrome that kind of leads to, insecurity, like maybe I don't deserve this, but then it can kind of it can turn into a weapon of itself. And I think most people call it gaslighting, but you start to kind of say, well, I cheated because she doesn't give me as much attention anymore, or he doesn't, do these things for me anymore, or whatever. Like, you can't control someone else's journey. And 10 times out of 10, people don't wake up in the morning and they're like, man, I'm going to really piss off Ian today. Right, like, people are just living their lives. And sometimes what they do pisses you off. But like, when you start messing up and then blaming other people for what you did, man, that is like the lowest class type of person. Yeah. You did what you did. Own that. Stop being a bitch. Every time, like, I hate bullies. I hate bullshitting. I hate inauthentic people. Like, do not gaslight your partner because you fucked up. Yeah. Oh, what? She gained weight after the kids were born. Oh, she's not as sexual with you, so you had to go cheat. Man, come on. like you cheated because you're a piece of shit. Like you
Yeah.
cheated because you're a fundamentally broken person and you went out and did something that you know you shouldn't have done. Don't make it her fault. Don't make it his fault. It's your fault. Own that.
Yeah.
And then try to be better, because you can't unring that bell. So man, for those of you out there that haven't crossed that line yet, don't ever cross it. If you want to be with the person you're with, don't ever cross it. And if you want to cross it, let that person go live their life. Break up with them. Go let that person go find their person. If you're not the kind of person that's going to be there for them, you're not the kind of person that's going to commit to them, you're taking up space in their life. If you're at a job, you're quiet quitting, new popular term now, and you're just sitting there taking up space, man. The universe has a way of really screwing over people that screw over people. Like, I'm just telling you, there's something to be said for like this, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but like if you live a very selfish life, that shit comes around.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I love everything you said, because one of the biggest things that we do in our mastermind groups is I'll say to somebody, regardless of what your life is now, it is 100% your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough as shit for people to gather their head around that. It was tough as shit for me to gather my head around it 8 years ago when somebody proposed that question to me. 100% on you. It's not your wife did this and it caused you to do this. You did that because you did that. All on you.
Period. Full
your
stop.
House you live in, the bank account, the way it looks, the car you drive, the shape you're in, everything is 100% up to you. And it's not that other people don't have some shit involved. It's that when you adopt this mindset that I take it all on and I own 100%, that mindset now elevates the decisions that you make in the future.
Yeah.
So real quick, as we,
men on purpose. I mean, living on purpose is such a powerful construct.
Yeah.
And it forces accountability. You did that on purpose. That failure, that mistake, that achievement, that lie, it was on purpose. In the moment, you decided to do it. And the choice is, what do you want to be your purpose so that you can live on purpose?
Yeah. And people ask me all the time, what does men on purpose mean? And one person here in LA, and I probably is only LA, they were like, is that against transgender? And I did a double take. Like I didn't even turn my head. I just went, I don't even know how to answer that question. And they were like, so it is. And I was like, have a wonderful day. I just like, I don't even want to engage with that.
We are kind of, in the same bracket, which, oh, by the way, just a shout out to everybody kind of, later into Gen X, beginning of like Zennials, which I think we actually are.
Yeah.
I had somebody else describe this to me. Like, we are the last generation ever, the last generation that was able to grow up analog, but was still young enough to learn digital, that we're comfortable with it. And so we remember what it was like, to leave the house in the summer at, when the sun came up and not come back until it was dark. And it was like Lord of the Flies.
Right.
And, you sometimes you get punched in the face, or sometimes you get lost, or sometimes you build a fort, or you just do weird shit.
Yeah.
And, kids these days don't get that, but that self-actualization is so important. And I think, there is this overcorrection today. Like, look, I love diversity. I love inclusiveness. I love that people can love whoever they want. I love that people are at least thinking about, like, wait a minute, is what I'm saying misogynistic? Is what I'm saying, racially motivated? I think we should have introspection in a lot of ways, because we haven't always been great at that as a country. That being said, intention matters. When someone is saying something that is out of line, and it's meant to be out of line, and you typically know when you're just trying to pick a fight, like, randomly.
Yeah.
And you can do that in a way that shows you appreciate the intent, but you want to have a conversation, you want to have a dialogue. Cool. By all means, do that with care. don't do it in this kind of cancel culture mindset where everything is a fight. And it's like, man, because eventually you start to, it's basically like a virus. Like you start to confuse communication. People will self-select out, and now you're not having a conversation at all. Like there are people, every group has its extreme, right? Like, when someone is on the far right and they start talking, I'll self-select out. I'm like, dude, I don't have time for you right now.
Agreed.
When you're on the far left, I don't have time for you right now. And all of a sudden, so if you have something good to say, don't lose me as an audience member because you are tone deaf and you don't understand intention. Not everything I say is trying to insult somebody or trying to make somebody feel like their category is not validated.
Yes.
And you don't attack me every time. You can educate me, you can ask me questions, but don't go looking for a fight every single time, because now it's like when someone cusses all the time, they don't really matter. My mom never cusses. So when she cusses, I'm like, whoa, something happened. So like choose your battles wisely so that you can advance discussion and that you don't become a caricature of the thing that you're fighting to represent.
Yeah.
And that's what I fear is happening right now, where, cancel culture now has become a negative term. And so, don't do 2 steps forward, 1 step back when it comes to diversity and inclusion, because you're ranting about things that aren't really what those things are meant to be, or to people who aren't attacking you. Do it with care.
Yeah. And curiosity. Do
Yeah,
it with curiosity.
Oh, I love that.
Like there's a lot of people that say to me, I wear this shirt every day. I'm proud as fuck that this brand that I built and this movement that I've created, and it's only growing and picking up power and speed and courage. And I have a lot of people, especially here in LA, that are like, what is this? What's this? What's this? Tell me about this. And I had this lady at the car wash, and she just said, is this toxic masculinity? And I realized she was asking me because she wanted to dialogue, not fight. And I said, farthest from it. And she was like, so what is it? And I said, it's that men are responsible and have a choice as to who they are and how they represent themselves, their families, who they show up as, and anything else you can talk about with being on purpose. And she's like, I fucking love that. It's at the car wash. And I got a subscriber, a female subscriber, like the guy at the weed shop down the street from my house. My wife and I like to take gummies, have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a shirt. The guy, I get into a 2-hour conversation. She's calling me and I'm like trying to pick up my phone. The guy goes, you can't pick up your phone in a weed shop. And I'm like, dude, hang on. I got kids. What's up? Where are you? At the store. Well, what are you doing? You spent 20 minutes. I'm like, well, they started talking about men on purpose stuff. And we started talking about personal development, and the whole store got involved. It was like 8:00 at night. Anyway, dude, I have so many additional questions. I absolutely loved this conversation. Absolutely loved it.
We'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do a part 2 here. Bro, where can people find you? Where do you need? I don't know what to ask. What do you want people to do to find you, to get to you, to help you, to support you? Like, what, you're into so many different
honestly,
things.
I like people doing their own jam. I'm not a big, so Todd, introduced us, but I met Todd through a dear friend of mine, Dan Fleischman, who is a remarkable person in his own right. And he's always gotten on me about I don't really have, I'm not trying to grow followers. I don't have a presence. I'm not creating content, but I love riffing with good people. And Todd, I've been putting myself out there a little bit more, and some of it's just, pure selfishness and being able to meet people like you. So I hope that something that we talked about resonated with somebody. That's what I'm most getting out of this, is if we've impacted even at least one person's life or how they think about things. But I'm easy to find. I'm at Randall Crowder on Instagram. I'm at Crowder Official on Twitter. I have at Randall Crowder on Twitter. I got to probably call up Elon. I have no idea what my password is. And so for the last 3 years, it's just been at Crowder Official, because I don't know what the hell that password is to save my life. I'm on LinkedIn, Randall Crowder. You can go to Funware, funware.com. Learn a whole lot about Funware and what we're doing, which is really cool. And just, I would just say, live an authentic life. one of the things my mom always told me that is the last thing I'll kind of leave people with. If you have a choice between being right and being kind, just be kind. And that'll save yourself a lot of trouble. You know, there's a lot of times where you find like, man, I'm going to really give it to this person, or, you know, man, everybody's living their own journey and it's tough. You know, you don't need to rub someone's face in it. Sometimes you just gotta, you know, just swallow it and be kind. Be kind to people, live with intention, understand other people's intention, and try to just leave the world a better place.
Yeah, I can totally appreciate that, man. Randall, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for your time. Appreciate the hour, dude. I'm gonna email you. We're gonna book a second because, bro, we could go. I have so many notes. Like, I got a page full, man. I
love it. Let's do it, man. If you're ever in Austin, you got to let me know. And
I will.
Next time I'm out in Orange County seeing our employees, I'll come out. I think it'd be fun to get together in person.
I love it, man. So, audience, we are gonna do a part 2. We're gonna get deeper into leadership. I want to get deeper into like some of that anger we talked about. I want to understand how you move through that. A little bit of the military stuff. We'll do a part 2. Audience, go check out Randall and all the amazing stuff he's doing for the world. Everything you need will be on menonpurpose.net. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you for listening. And remember, be on purpose, become irreplaceable men, and impact this world in the most positive manner. We'll catch you on the next one.